We've all seen the devastating images of the vast amounts of damage across our city from the May 16th tornado. To see streets, neighborhoods, whole communities in shambles, it can be hard to grasp just how many lives have been uprooted. And as much sympathy and concern we may feel for those most directly impacted, outsiders often don't see the daily struggle these communities will continue to face.
The house essentially collapsed in one half.
Paula has lived in North City the majority of her life, and although her home is within means of repair, and she was fortunate not to be home with her 2 young boys at the time of the storm, she shares with us the many challenges her family now faces.
You lose a lot of the power and things you worked really hard for in a moment. So I joked, and it's one of the laughs to keep them crying. But last week I was in Italy, and this week I'm homeless, and the enormity of that is just a very unreal thing to process. So yeah, this is my house still standing, with roof damage in the back. My house is absolutely in a space of repair. The other side of that is, what does it look like to return to a home in a neighborhood that's still destroyed, especially with children? And people have always had perceptions or thoughts about North City, St. Louis, but this neighborhood was it was everything to me. I loved living here. I chose to stay here. The neighbors looked out for each other. So what we didn't have in the sights or the aesthetic, we had in the feels of we are loved here. We can call on each other here. In recent years, more people have started moving back in because it was an empty area for a while. And so as people move back in, it felt good to have neighbors again. I don't know how you repair this or cover this up without demolishing. And everyone's timeline just feels and seems different, especially because the resources are different. We need to start having conversations around how we're gonna house blocks of people for short and long term. So what does that look like for families that were surviving or barely surviving over here to now have to stretch resources to go somewhere else? What does it look like for that person to be owning a home but still needing to live somewhere else? And then as we're all actively searching for houses and the demand goes up, what does it look like for there be some type of protection around not abusing that as a landlord or as someone that is renting out a space? Because we are vulnerable. I'm vulnerable, and I would say I have a little more resources, but I'm extremely vulnerable in that if someone raises their prices and I have nowhere to go, I have to pay it.
Some help has started to take shape. The city of St. Louis, along with numerous nonprofits, are working to provide short-term housing solutions, including hotel stays and emergency funds. FEMA assistance could offer rental support, home repairs, and even transportation help. But for now, many families like Paula's are left navigating a complicated system, waiting on delayed city programs, legal processes, federal approvals, while trying to rebuild some sense of stability day to day.
So talking to my son that houses have been blown down by wind, and because of that, right now we can't return home. And the innocence of a 5-year-old to say, wind can't blow down houses. That's not a real thing. We're supposed to be safe in our brick houses. All the houses on our street are brick.
How do you keep it together for them?
You get good at pretending, because in the reality of raising 2 Black boys in a city like St. Louis, this isn't the first time that I have had to imagine having difficult conversations. And that also speaks to the trauma that our children and the children over here have experienced.
In a time of so much uncertainty, Paula reminds us that one thing remains consistent: community showing up for community.
I do think we will survive it and overcome it, and it will be because of us and not because of
We will always self-deploy. I want to say that. We will always self-deploy. No one else would manage how we engage in compassion, how we engage with one another, how we love one another, how we support one another, how we search for our own dignity. We will always survive, and we don't need nobody else to tell us when, how we should show up for one another.
For Living St. Louis, I'm Brooke Butler.